There is a reason this message found you today. Out of the countless videos, messages, distractions, and voices competing for your attention, you are here, listening to these words at this exact moment. And before you dismiss that as coincidence, pay attention. Because what you are about to hear is not about romance alone. It is not merely about finding someone attractive. It is not about temporary feelings. It is not about a relationship that exists only to make you happy for a season. No. This message is about a sacred connection. A connection that heaven has been arranging behind the scenes while you were busy worrying, waiting, doubting, and wondering if your future would ever make sense. There is someone connected to your destiny. Someone whose path is crossing yours for a reason far greater than either of you currently understand. And if you've been noticing unusual signs lately, if you've felt a strange pull towards someone, if you can't explain why one person keeps appearing in your thoughts, if doors keep opening in unexpected ways, then do not ignore what is happening. Because God often begins speaking long before people realize He is speaking. The truth is shocking. Many people spend years searching for their purpose while overlooking one of the greatest assignments God places directly in front of them. And sometimes that assignment comes disguised as a person. A future husband. A future wife. A future partner in purpose. The person God is leading you toward may not look like what you expected. That is why so many people miss divine connections. They expect perfection. God sends purpose. They expect fantasy. God sends destiny. They expect someone who checks every box. God sends someone who unlocks a calling. And there is a massive difference. Listen carefully. The sacred reason behind this connection is bigger than emotions. Bigger than attraction. Bigger than comfort. Bigger than status. Because God does not bring two people together merely to create a wedding day. He brings people together to create a future. And somewhere ahead of you is a future that requires both of you. Not just one. Both. Think about that. What if the person you've been praying for is also praying for you? What if the delays weren't punishments? What if they were preparations? What if every heartbreak you experienced wasn't the end of your story but God's way of protecting you from the wrong story? Most people never consider that possibility. They focus on what they lost. God focuses on what He is building. And what He is building right now may be more extraordinary than you can imagine. Because there is something strange happening. The closer people get to a divine connection, the more confusion often appears. Unexpected obstacles. Unusual delays. Moments of uncertainty. Why? Because anything connected to purpose attracts resistance. The enemy does not waste time attacking things that have no future. He targets what carries significance. That is why some of you have felt exhausted. You almost gave up on love. You almost convinced yourself that nothing meaningful would ever happen. You almost settled for less. But somehow, something stopped you. And now you're here. Hearing this message. At the exact moment you needed it. That is not random. There is a person entering your life or already present in your life whose role goes beyond companionship. Together, you will unlock something neither of you could fully accomplish alone. That statement may sound unbelievable. But history is filled with examples of people whose destinies accelerated when the right person entered their life. Not because one person completed the other, but because together they multiplied impact. And that is where the sacred reason begins. You see, some marriages are built around convenience. Some are built around loneliness. Some are built around fear. But the strongest ones are built around purpose. When purpose becomes the foundation, everything changes. Suddenly the relationship is not only about what each person receives. It becomes about what both are called to release into the world. This is why God sometimes allows long waiting seasons. Because purpose partnerships require preparation. And preparation takes time. There are lessons you had to learn alone. There were wounds that needed healing. There were habits that needed breaking. There were perspectives that needed changing. If God had introduced this person earlier, neither of you would have been ready. The timing matters. The preparation matters. Everything matters. And here comes the surprising revelation. The person connected to this sacred reason may currently appear ordinary. Extremely ordinary. That is how God often works. People look for fireworks. God hides treasure beneath simplicity. People search for dramatic signs. God whispers. People expect instant certainty. God develops trust. Do not underestimate someone simply because they do not fit your original expectations. Because destiny rarely arrives wearing the costume people imagine. Sometimes the greatest blessing enters quietly. Without announcement. Without attention. Without applause. Yet changes everything. And there is another reason you need to hear this. Many people are unknowingly standing at the edge of a life-changing season. The problem is they keep looking backward. Backward at disappointments. Backward at betrayals. Backward at mistakes. Backward at people who left. Meanwhile, God is moving something important toward them from the opposite direction. Forward. What if your future is closer than your fears suggest? What if the person you've been praying about is closer than you realize? What if heaven has been arranging conversations, encounters, opportunities, and timing behind the scenes? The truth is that God specializes in arranging what humans cannot. He connects paths. He aligns seasons. He orchestrates moments. And when the right moment arrives, events can move faster than anyone expects. That is why this message is important. Because some people listening are about to enter a season where things suddenly begin making sense. The confusion. The waiting. The unanswered questions. The delays. The closed doors. All of it. You will look back and realize God was not ignoring you. He was positioning you. But the sacred reason behind this future marriage goes even deeper. And what you're about to hear next may completely change how you view relationships forever. Because this connection is not only about who you marry. It is about who you become. And that revelation changes everything. Now listen very carefully. Because this is where the hidden truth begins to emerge. Most people think the purpose of marriage is finding someone who makes life easier. But throughout life, God often uses relationships to transform people into who they were meant to become. That is the sacred reason many never see. The right person does not simply enter your life to celebrate your strengths. They help reveal your calling. They challenge your limitations. They expose areas that still need growth. And they encourage gifts that have been sleeping inside you for years. Think about that for a moment. What if God is leading you towards someone who will help unlock a version of yourself you have never met before? A stronger version. A wiser version. A more courageous version. A version capable of fulfilling assignments you currently believe are impossible. That possibility is far more powerful than most people realize. Because purpose changes everything. When God joins two lives together for a sacred reason, extraordinary things begin happening. New opportunities appear. Unexpected favor arrives. Fresh vision develops. Doors open. Ideas emerge. Courage increases. Hope returns. Not because life becomes perfect, but because purpose creates momentum. And there is something else you need to know. The person God is preparing for you is not being prepared accidentally. They have their own journey, their own lessons, their own battles, their own healing process, their own growth. While you were learning, they were learning. While you were changing, they were changing. While you were wondering where they were, God was working on both sides simultaneously. That realization alone should bring peace. Because it means the waiting was not empty. The waiting was productive. Even when you could not see it. Even when nothing appeared to be happening. Heaven was still moving. And now comes one of the most surprising revelations. Sometimes the sacred reason behind a marriage does not become visible until years later. At first everything seems ordinary. Two people meet. Conversations happen. Friendship grows. Trust develops. Life moves forward. But then one day they realize something incredible. The relationship wasn't random. The timing wasn't random. The circumstances weren't random. The connection wasn't random. Everything was connected to a bigger picture. A picture only God could see from the beginning. And perhaps that is what is happening in your life. Perhaps pieces are moving together right now. Pieces you cannot fully understand yet. Pieces that will eventually form a picture so clear that you'll wonder why you ever doubted. Because God's plans often make the most sense in reverse. People understand them after they happen. Not before. That is why faith matters. And that is why this message matters. Because fear has a way of convincing people to run from what God is bringing. Fear says you're not ready. Fear says you've missed your chance. Fear says you'll be disappointed again. Fear says nothing good is coming. But fear is not the author of your future. God is. And if God is leading you toward a sacred connection, fear does not get the final word. Purpose does. Destiny does. Grace does. There is someone listening right now who has almost given up completely. You told yourself it was easier not to hope. Easier not to expect. Easier not to believe. But deep inside, a small part of you still wonders. What if God has something beautiful planned? What if your story isn't over? What if the best chapter hasn't happened yet? The answer may be closer than you think. Because one conversation can change everything. One introduction can change everything. One encounter can change everything. One God-ordained moment can redirect an entire future. And that moment often arrives when people least expect it. That is why you must stay open. Stay faithful. Stay attentive. Do not let disappointment blind you to opportunity. Do not let fear silence hope. Do not let past failures define future possibilities. Because the sacred reason behind this future marriage is not rooted in your mistakes. It is rooted in God's purpose. And God's purpose is always greater than your past. One day you may look across the room at this person and realize something astonishing. You may realize that every delay protected you. Every lesson prepared you. Every setback redirected you. Every disappointment strengthened you. Every closed door guided you. Every season had meaning. And suddenly the story will make sense. Not because every question gets answered, but because the outcome reveals the wisdom behind the process. Until then, trust the journey. Trust the preparation. Trust the timing. Trust the unseen work taking place beyond your vision. Because if God is leading you toward this person, it is not merely for romance. It is not merely for companionship. It is not merely for comfort. It is for something sacred. Something purposeful. Something bigger than either of you currently understand. And when the right moment arrives, the revelation will be undeniable. You will understand why certain doors closed. You will understand why certain people left. You will understand why certain plans failed. You will understand why certain seasons lasted longer than expected. You will understand why God said, "Not yet." Because "not yet" was preparing you for now. And when that day comes, you will not be standing in the life you imagined. You will be standing in the life God prepared. The person. The purpose. The timing. The connection. The sacred reason. All of it. Connected. All of it. Leading to a future greater than anything fear ever predicted. And that future may already be moving toward you right now. Now, here is the revelation that very few people ever understand. The person God is leading you toward is not entering your life by accident. In fact, long before either of you noticed each other, heaven already knew your paths would cross. That sounds impossible to some people. But think about your own life for a moment. How many unexpected events brought you to where you are today? How many closed doors redirected you? How many disappointments pushed you in a completely different direction? How many delays turned out to be hidden blessings? What if those moments were not random? What if they were pieces of a larger plan? Because God's greatest works often happen behind the scenes. While people focus on what they can see, God is arranging what they cannot. And that is exactly why this message matters. There is a sacred reason connected to this future marriage. A reason bigger than emotions. A reason bigger than attraction. A reason bigger than temporary happiness. You see, some people enter your life to teach lessons. Some enter your life for a season. Some enter your life to help you heal. But there are rare people who enter your life because they are connected to your assignment. These are the people who help unlock doors you could never open alone. These are the people who strengthen your faith during difficult seasons. These are the people who remind you who you are when the world tries to convince you otherwise. And if God is leading you toward such a person, then what is coming next could change everything. Because many listeners have been asking the same question. Why has it taken so long? The answer is powerful. Preparation. Preparation for the blessing. Preparation for the responsibility. Preparation for the purpose. Preparation for the future. Imagine receiving something extraordinary before you were ready to handle it. The blessing itself could become a burden. That is why God often prepares the people before He releases the promise. He works on character before destiny. He works on wisdom before promotion. He works on maturity before responsibility. And while you were growing, the other person was growing too. While you were learning difficult lessons, they were learning theirs. While you were healing from past wounds, they were healing from theirs. While you were wondering where they were, God was preparing both sides of the story. That realization alone should bring peace. Because it means the waiting season had meaning. Nothing was wasted. Not the tears. Not the confusion. Not the disappointments. Not the lonely nights. Not the unanswered questions. Every season was building something. And now, something remarkable is beginning to happen. The pieces are moving. The timing is shifting. The season is changing. The story is advancing. And even if you cannot see it yet, there are signs. Subtle signs. Unexpected signs. Quiet signs. The kind of signs that only make sense later. A conversation. A chance meeting. A sudden opportunity. A new connection. An unusual feeling that something important is approaching. Do not ignore those moments. Because God often whispers before He reveals. And here comes the shocking part. The person connected to this sacred reason may not immediately look like the answer you expected. Many people miss God's blessings because they arrive in unfamiliar packaging. People expect perfection. God sends purpose. People expect a fantasy. God sends destiny. People expect someone who fits a checklist. God sends someone who fits a calling. There is a difference. A very important difference. Because the greatest relationships are not built on perfection. They are built on purpose. And purpose creates strength that circumstances cannot destroy. When two people are connected through purpose, they can survive storms that would destroy ordinary relationships. They can keep moving when challenges appear. They can continue believing when others quit. They can keep building when others walk away. Why? Because they understand that their connection was never based only on feelings. It was based on something deeper. Something sacred. Something eternal. And perhaps that is exactly what God is preparing for you now. A connection with meaning. A connection with direction. A connection with purpose. A connection that helps both people become who they were created to be. One day, you may look back on this season and realize something incredible. You may realize that every delay protected you. Every closed door redirected you. Every disappointment prepared you. Every setback strengthened you. Every difficult season shaped you. And suddenly the entire story will make sense. You will see how God was guiding you even when you thought He was silent. You will see how He was protecting you even when you felt forgotten. You will see how He was preparing your future even when nothing seemed to be happening. And when that revelation comes, everything changes. Because you finally understand that the waiting was not punishment. It was preparation. The delays were not rejection. They were protection. The uncertainty was not abandonment. It was positioning. And the person God is leading you toward was worth every season you had to walk through to get there. So do not lose hope. Do not let fear convince you that your story is finished. Do not let disappointment steal your expectation. Your future is still being written. Your purpose is still unfolding. Your blessing is still moving. And if God is truly leading you toward this person for a sacred reason, then nothing meant for you can be permanently taken away. At the right time. In the right season. With the right purpose. Everything will come together. And when it does, you will understand why heaven refused to let you settle for less.